Okay, hi everyone. So in this video I'm going to go through every step to show you how to set up your own version of JupyterLite so that you can code in browser without having Python installed locally in a way that also lets you safely use data that is stored locally in a way that doesn't upload it online or risk accidentally leaking that data unless you do something very, very wrong. So there's a link in the description to a repository for a tool called JupyterLite. JupyterLite is a version of Jupyter Notebooks and JupyterLab that is built on Pyodide so that you can run Python from your browser. Now, when it's running in your browser, what it does is it also stores data and information you save to it in your browser. So even though it seems like you're saving something to a web page, you're actually saving it locally to your browser. So what you do, you head to that link and you head to this. This is the repository for the JupyterLite demo. Even if you don't understand GitHub, don't worry. I will show you every single click. You will need to have a GitHub account though, although you don't need a paid one. So head to this link and head to use this template, create a new repository. Give it a name. I'm going to call mine JL video demo. Give it a description, something actually sensible, not that. Right, so what this does is it uses GitHub Pages, which is for every repository. Everyone, whether or not they pay for GitHub, has a free website. What it does is it uses the code in the repository and some things called GitHub Actions, which are processes that you can use to tell GitHub how to use code in the repository, to push that code onto your free website, is called the GitHub Pages, to allow you to use JupyterLite in that. And because we don't pay, we have to use it as a public one. Don't worry about including all branches, just click this green button. So what it's going to do is it's going to get all of that code from that repository and put it in your own version. And it's going to run through these things called actions, which will build from that code that we just saw here, the website. Now, if you've never fiddled around with GitHub Pages before, it won't work out of the box. If you have, it might, but assume it won't. There are some settings we need to change and there are some files we need to add, but it's very, very simple. So first things first, when you're on the main repository page we can get to from code, head to settings, head to actions. We need to allow our actions to be able to do things with the code in the repository. And to do that, we head down to workflow permissions, we change it to read and write permissions, and we save. There's one more thing we need to do, and it's quite simple. We need to head in the same place we went to actions in general to pages. In pages, we need to make sure we're set to deploy from a branch, and we need to deploy from main. What this does is the code that you copied is stored in a branch called main, and it then knows that when you're deploying your GitHub Pages, you use the code that's in main. Make sure you hit save. If you don't hit save, it won't work. So we're going to save that. There you go. You've now set it up so that those actions will make a GitHub Pages. There's one more thing we need to do. We need to head back to code, and we need to add something using this add file button, create new file, something called an index.html file. What this does normally on a bigger website is when you go to the website, tell it where to look to get each different page of the website. But we only have one page, the JupyterLite page, so we can just ignore this. Give it the name. This file does have to exist even if it's not doing anything. Leave it empty. Commit it directly to main. We wouldn't normally do that, but in this instance it doesn't matter. Commit new file. There we go. So we've got our index. We did our settings. Now we can head to actions and see it working. So when GitHub Actions are doing things, yellow or orange means that they're in the process of working. Green means they've worked, and red means that they haven't. If you have any red ones, go back through the text guide on the D2I website, or go back through this video to make sure you've done everything correctly. If you had a fresh repository that you'd never tinkered with before, and you followed my guide exactly, I have shown you every single click you need to do. So there shouldn't be any steps that you've missed, and it should all work. What I'll do now is I'll come back to you when all of this is set up. Okay, so in the time I had the recording paused, I didn't do anything. I just stared at this page, so don't worry that steps have gone on behind the scenes you haven't seen. I just waited for all of these to turn green. Now they are all green, what we can do is head to settings, head back to pages, and can visit our GitHub site, which has JupyterLite on it. Now, it can take a little while for that to get active, so if you go to it and it says there's no page here, or it's just white, don't worry, you might have to wait up to half an hour. But let's have a look. Let's just press visit site, and it should take us to a white page that's initially quite scary, that then turns into JupyterLite. Well, we've got the white page, that's a good sign. Hopefully now, there we go, we've got JupyterLite, which allows us to run notebooks, to code Python, JavaScript. It allows us to query SQL, which is really nice using SQLite, and some other things, which I haven't used, so Ren, P5, and Lua, whatever that is. But what we'll do is we'll make a new notebook file just by clicking on that, just to show you how to use JupyterLite. Now, first things first, we don't have in this the packages we'd want to use normally already installed, so we need to use something, and this is the only step that's different to a normal Jupyter notebooks. We need to use something called piplite, which is the same as pip or conda that you would normally use to install packages. So what we now need to do is we need to use piplite to install. Let's install NumPy and pandas, although, you know, if you were using something like matplotlib or another package, it's exactly the same. So await. Then we want to use piplite, and the method is quite simply .install, and then you just give it the name of the package you want to run NumPy as a string, and then again await piplite.install pandas. There we go. So what this does is the same as if you were doing pip install or conda install. It just installs these packages. Now we want to do, same as normal, import pandas as pd, import numpy as np. There we go. We're all set up. Just going to move that above there. All set up to go. We can run this. We've got a star there showing it's working. Now, if you haven't used Jupyter Notebooks before, we do have a Jupyter Notebooks guide on the website, and once you've gone through this one extra step of getting things installed, it works exactly the same. So if you follow the Jupyter Notebooks guide on the website, you'll be able to do this. So let's just, I suppose, prove that this works. So let's go to data and copy the path to this. This is just a CSV. There's a demo for JupyterLite. Let's do something like data equals pd.read CSV, and then as a string we'll pass it the file path to data, and let's just print data. And if that works, just proof that without installing Python on your computer, and entirely in the browser, you can run Python exactly as you would normally. Now, in the future I will release a more in-depth guide showing you in a video how to actually get to grips with more Jupyter Notebook and Python things in the JupyterLite environment. So there's some things like reading files directly from your computer is a bit different, but up until then you're fine to put data in this file. Just make sure you don't commit it to GitHub. And there you go. After that, you have learned how to set up your own JupyterLite that you can commit to and manage to GitHub behind, so you can choose what's on it, what isn't, and you can share things from it. So, great to see everyone, and I'll see you in another video.